let's start out with end of life. End of life happened. We still exist. Nothing crashed. And we've had a myriad of webinars in the end of June, the first part of July, especially around PCI compliance for the end of life of Magento 1. If we could tell us one thing to a merchant, what would we tell them about Magento 1 and continuing on or moving, or this is completely opinion based?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I would say to a merchant, don't panic. I think that, you know, the end of life has passed. It's kind of like the year Y2K bug, isn't it? You know, sites are still operating. Nothing's you know, significance happened. But carry on the path towards, you know, moving off Magento 1 onto another platform. Maybe Magento 2 makes a lot of sense to go to Magento 2, but maybe it's not Magento 2. But certainly, you know, the end of life's happened, so people can stop scaremongering now. It's happened, but there is still a journey that customers who are still on Magento 1 need to take, in my opinion. But you know, while they're not doing that, there is, you know, nothing to panic too much about. It's just that the product obviously won't be evolving in the way that it had done, and you know, there's the whole security side of things is a different kettle of fish now. So going through Mage 1 or making sure they're on the right hosting provider, whatever. But yeah, I think, you know, pragmatically plan to move off Magento 1, but you know, now we can get away from the fact that there's that cutoff date. It's happened, and you know, life has carried on. So you know, you should carry on moving towards another platform, but carry on where you are at the moment.
That's interesting. I completely forgot that we had this end of life thing. It's, you know, like it finally happened. Really, okay. It's not really a thing. What's interesting is that last week I actually took on my first short-term Magento 1 gig again. So it's a site that launched in 2007 with Magento. Back then, I guess CE, they didn't have CE or E, right? It's still running strong. It's been on CE their whole time. Now it's on the latest version of OpenMage, right? The fork on GitHub. And you know what? I've really been enjoying this last week working on that project. It's amazing. I feel so productive as a single developer. I can just bang out features quickly, and it's so good. I'm really enjoying myself. There is the issue that there's no modern API. I think that's the biggest downside in regards to building further with Magento 1. But you know, there are ways around that. People have built GraphQL on top of it, usually with a middle layer, or they have built, you know, their own API extensions one way or the other. And development of OpenMage is actually going pretty fast, faster than Magento 1 development has been in years under Magento Corporation focus. So I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 or 3 years there actually is a GraphQL API for Magento for OpenMage, right? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. To me, it seems like there still is a place for Magento 1, aka now OpenMage, which is a lot of merchants where Magento 2 just is no fit, right? And this end of life thing, that's just a no thing. That's just like it's nothing. It's like, why even talk about it? It's like it doesn't matter, right? At all for me. So that's my opinion.
I guess it kind of depends on the type of merchant you are. That if you
right. I mean, if you build 100K, you know, projects just to upgrade or whatever, not everybody has that kind of cash or wants to spend that kind of cash on an e-commerce sales channel, right? So yeah.
Can I interrupt for a question from an attendee?
Sure.
just about OpenMage. Can someone explain OpenMage?
Yeah, OpenMage is a, do we have a chance to show browser window here or just slide?
Go ahead
Yeah.
and.
Oops.
If you
Do you want me to Google something or do you?
github.com/openmage. OpenMage, yeah, that's it. So this is a fork of Magento 1. It's been created many years ago, and now that officially Magento is no longer being developed, it's a community project. And many security and other improvements have already been made. So Magento LTS is for long-term support. There is a release strategy where each, how they do releases, how long each one will be supported for how many years and so on. So it's quite a mature project already. A lot of high-profile names actually are involved there. Of fame, mostly, I would say, is probably Colin Mollenauer, who's very active there, right? He's the guy who created the Redis cache backend back in the day, which is still being used by Magento 2 nowadays, right? So yeah, and he's quite active there. He's got his own other project now, some kind of fulfillment-related company. But yeah, that's basically OpenMage, right? And then there's also Mage1.com, which is a commercial entity which provides, you have to be a paying subscriber, but they basically offer bug bounties for Magento 1. They took over the whole program from Adobe in a way, or just stepped up afterwards. So that's basically just taking care of the security updates for Magento 1. They do not, however, support OpenMage, which to me doesn't make any sense, but they've got their reasons, right? They have limited manpower and just want to take care that merchants on Magento 1, not Magento LTS, but Magento 1, still are covered from a bug bounty perspective.
So would you say on this then, Vinai, that OpenMage is a fork of Magento 1 that is continuing to be developed and have new features added, whereas Mage 1 is just the latest version of Magento being maintained, Magento 1 being maintained from a security point of view?
Correct. And so Mage 1 to me feels like a interim stopgap solution until migration to another platform, be it Magento 2 or something else, is possible. OpenMage is more like a platform solution that still is available for merchants where that's a fit. That's the way I see.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, that's yeah.
So that's OpenMage, yeah. And by the way, Magento OpenMage is still completely compatible to Magento 1. Like every module that works in Magento works in OpenMage, right? And there's focus on that too.
Yeah, and I think that will continue since if now Magento 1 there's no more development happening on it. Theoretically, OpenMage would be the new version of Magento that everybody should go to.
Right. Or Mage 1.
Yeah, I think the problem with Mage 1 is that they're not going to publish their patches because they're commercial and they're feeling like these patches are only for the people that have paid for them. So
that's true, but if they don't publish it, it's still. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but there is the whole OSL licensing issue with derived works, and those patches probably would be considered those. And even if they don't publish it, nothing actually could be done to stop merchants from publishing them, for example, right? So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not part of Mage 1. I'm not a merchant on OpenMage, so I have no stakes in this. But I wouldn't be surprised if patches somehow make it out into the wild.
Yeah, I think that this would be a great topic to invite Rico and Carmen and the whole Mage 1 crew. I know that we are part of Mage 1 and we brought merchants to Mage 1 specifically for the security and the making sure that from a security standpoint it is working. that I will add that there won't be any new features developed on Mage 1, where you're right, OpenMage would also include new features that could be developed.
Yeah, and many bug fixes. It's amazing. I'm following the GitHub pull requests, and there's quite a lot going on. It's quite alive, kicking. It's good.
Yeah, so as a personal caveat or a little plug, my patches repository that I've maintained for the last 6 or 7 years now has been adopted by the Magento Association. So I have seen a distinct uptick in submissions and pull requests for lost patches, and I would love and hope that that OpenMage would also, if there's patches being developed for that, would also put those patches onto my repository. And if we were to have some sort of a OpenMage directory or something, or I don't know how they're gonna version newer things, but yeah, I think that from a Magento 1 standpoint, Magento 1 is still alive and kicking. And I think for a merchant standpoint, it's very important that you realize that the PCI compliance portion of it needs to be, you need to be PCI compliant. It's not the software that tells you you're PCI compliant. It's somebody doing PCI compliance to tell you that you're PCI compliant. Even if you have the newest version of Magento, it is possible that you can use that and not be PCI compliant. So the key is that you get certified from either a third party or you are certified through a self-evaluation on PCI compliance. All right, so I think we beat PCI compliance to death. And
you guys actually answered one of the other questions. Somebody had asked, what's the difference between Mage 1 and OpenMage? So you kind of covered all of that.
Great, and it seems like there's enough around here to actually talk about both of those things.